Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new Pokemon TCG video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Primal Clash Bunnelby with the Omega Barrage Ancient Traits ability. So essentially the whole purpose of our deck is going to be to try and deck out our opponent's deck. It's actually been a lot more difficult than I wish, just because of Lysander's trump card giving us an incredibly difficult time. I mean, you're going to be encountering a lot of decks that run Lysander's trump card, so ideally we want to face an opponent that doesn't actually have Lysander's trump card and just deck them out. Nonetheless, this is a very annoying type of deck to deal with anyways, because we have a whole lot of very annoying cards, such as the Hypnotoxic Lasers repeatedly trying to put our opponent's Pokemon to sleep so that we can repeatedly force them to discard their cards. We're also going to be running the max number of Crushing Hammers. Again, this is just to try and discard the energy cards attached to our opponent's Pokemon and prolong the lives of our Bunnelbys and Dialga EXs. Enhanced Hammer, of course, works as the same sort of function as our Crushing Hammers, except this automatically gets rid of our opponent's special energies and doesn't require flip, so that is certainly quite nice. And another energy discard card that we are running in our deck is going to be 2 Team Flare Grunts. This allows us to discard any energy card attached to our opponent's active Pokemon. So, I mean, even though our deck is unfortunately going to have an incredibly difficult time against Lysander's trump card, we are running a lot of cards just to try and make life that much more difficult for our opponents. The other Pokemon that I do want to discuss is going to be the Dialga EX. We are going to be using his fast forward attack, only hits for 90 damage. Not exactly the greatest. However, for each plasma energy attached to this Pokemon, we are able to discard the top card of our opponent's deck. That is essentially the whole purpose of running Dialga EX in our deck. So if he has 4 plasma energies, he can discard up to 4 cards from our opponent's top deck, and that certainly does add up over a long period of time, especially if our opponent's not running any Lysander's trump cards. Dialga EX can be very menacing, and even that 90 damage does certainly stack up over time. Briefly wanted to mention that the Bunnelby with his Burrow attack is actually able to attack twice in any given turn, thanks to the Omega Barrage ability, so that is certainly quite nice. And Rotatiller, not really sure how to pronounce this attack, but this essentially allows us to shuffle a card from our discard pile back into our deck. So we could essentially use this to recycle our hammers as well, if that is what we wanted to do, in case we were, for example, encountering a Lysander's trump card type deck. Again, unfortunately, our deck seems to be at a very poor matchup whenever we do encounter Lysander's trump card decks, but for any deck that's not actually running it, this deck works extremely well. We're very quickly able to discard a whole lot of cards from our opponent's deck. The last card that I wanted to mention that actually acts to discard our opponent's cards is actually going to be the Trick Shovel. So it allows us to look at the top card of either our own deck or opponent's deck, and then we can decide whether or not we would like to discard them. So pretty nice card. It can also allow us to sort of decide whether or not we would want to let our opponent to draw onto their next card. Ideally, we'd most likely try and discard the top card of their deck anyways, because of course either our Bunnelby or our Dialga EX would be attacking, and through their attack we would be discarding the top cards of our opponent's deck anyways. So Trick Shovel is there for us nonetheless. Discussing the A-Spec card of our deck, it is going to be the Computer Search. This is just because our deck sort of relies on us getting our Pokemon line going up nice and early. We're only running a total of 8 energy cards, so Computer Search is most likely going to be used for us to allow us to grab some energy cards. Speaking of energies, we are also going to be running a total of 3 Colress Machines. Reason for the Colress Machine is that we want to try and set up our Dialga EX. I mean, his fast forward attack takes a massive 4 energies to actually get set up. Colress Machine is going to allow us to speed up that entire process, so we are ultimately running 3 copies of it. Unfortunately, it can't be used to speed up the rate of energy attachment to our Bunnelbys, given the fact that they are not Team Plasma Pokemon. Nonetheless, though, Colress Machine is a nice card. We are running 3 copies of it in our deck. So these are our energy breakdown, guys. 4 plasma energies and 4 double colorless energies. We are running some other cards that you guys are quite familiar with. So we are running a total of 2 Switches, 4 Ultra Balls, 3 VS Seekers, a single Colress, 1 Lysander, 4 Ends, 4 Junipers, a total of 2 Shadow Triads. Shadow Triad, we are running it just because it will allow us to fetch any of our discarded Team Plasma energies, and will allow us to reuse the Hypnotoxic lasers as well, and possibly our colors as well, if that is what we wanted to grab onto. It's a pretty nice card. We are running 2 copies of it in our deck. We are also running 2 Skylas, the Team Flare Grunts, which I have discussed, a single teammates, and a total of 2 Headringers. Again, this is just to try and slow down our opponent's deck, namely speaking, if they are running EX type Pokemon. So with that, let's go and find ourselves an opponent. Really hoping that it's not an opponent that has Lysander's trump card. Seems to be a pretty prevalent card right now, because a lot of people are running Night March and Flareon type decks. People are using Lysander's trump card just to try and counter those types of decks. So let's see who we're actually going to face. Really hoping that it's not a Lysander's trump card deck, guys, or at the very least that our opponent's Lysander's trump card is prized, because otherwise our deck is going to have an incredibly difficult time, since we're not really running on any sorts of efficient attackers. So our opponent is going to start first. That's absolutely okay though. I mean, I'm assuming they're going to choose to start first. Again, that's fine though, because we do want to be able to attack starting turn 1. Looks like we are going to start off with the Dialga EX, so that is quite nice. We're actually going to be able to power him up on our very first turn, so I will be able to attach a double colorless energy to him, and then use the Colress Machine twice through the cycling of the Shadow Triad, and then we can immediately hit that Dialga EX. Okay, so it looks like we're actually going to get another Colress Machine as well, which is certainly very nice, because I will actually be grabbing a Juniper. So let's go right ahead and look for a Plasma Energy, attach it to our Dialga EX, look for another Plasma Energy again, and attach that to our Dialga EX. And then we will be using the Crushing Hammer, hoping for a Heads, and unfortunately it's a Tails, but let's go right ahead and grab onto the Professor Juniper, and hopefully we can get some bench Pokemon as well. Looks like we have a pretty great start actually, in my opinion. Sorry, there's the Professor Juniper. Let's go and lay it down. And okay, so 2 Bunnelbys, that is nice. Also 2 Enhanced Hammers. Unfortunately, we're unable to use that right now, but let's go and use Fast Forward and just knock out the 2 top cards of our opponent's deck. Let's see what they were. So a Headringer and a Darkness Energy. So that's nice, because that Headringer would certainly have slowed down our Dialga EX. Looks like it is going to come out anyways, but through attaching another double colorless energy, our Dialga EX will nonetheless still be able to attack. So that is certainly quite nice. If our opponent's Yveltal EX actually cannot knock out our Dialga EX, and if our opponent's actually unable to grab onto any bench Pokemon, we're actually going to be able to win. So I may just look for another opponent, but let's see. I mean, this is going to be a ridiculously quick game. I'm assuming our opponent, if he was intelligent, he would be looking for the Ultra Ball, which does not look like that is what he grabbed with his Skyla. Again, if no bench Pokemon, okay, so our opponent actually does have an Ultra Ball at hand, so that's certainly good to see. I mean, again, otherwise he would have lost the game. So it looks like a Manectric EX is going to come out. I'm assuming, yeah, so that Yveltal EX is going to hit us for a whole lot of damage, but fortunately for us, we are still going to be able to survive. So let's go and actually Headringer that Manectric EX, so he will not be able to attack on our opponent's turn unless he actually attaches a double colorless energy to him. And then let's go and attach another double colorless energy to our Dialga EX, knocking out our opponent's Yveltal EX and simultaneously discarding 2 more cards on our opponent's deck. So let's see what those cards happen to be. Sorry, I'd like to check that out first. Okay, so it looks like a Shadow Circle and a Jirachi EX, so not bad. Let's go and draw onto our second prize card. And awesome, looks like it is going to be the Team Flare Grunt, so hopefully we'll be slowing down our opponents. Given the fact that he is running Mega Manectric EX in combination with the Yveltal EX, I don't think that we're going to be seeing really any sorts of double colorless energies or anything like that. So our opponent is going to have a relatively difficult time. Looks like he's actually not going to have any energy cards at all just yet. So let's actually go and use the Hypnotoxic Laser, and luckily we are going to be able to get the heads. I will actually be discarding our hand as well. So let's go and actually grab onto another one of our Bunnelbys and then lay him down into our bench. Let's go and use the Juniper for some new cards at hand. And okay, so let's see what our opponent's next card is. If it's anything that, well, I'm actually going to discard it anyways. So it is a Seismitoad EX, but I was going to discard it anyways just because we are going to be attacking with our Dialga EX anyways. So let's go and lay down another Bunnelby and then use the fast forward attack, discard 2 more cards from the top of our opponent's deck. And it looks like that Mega Manectric EX is actually going to stay asleep. So hoping that our opponent doesn't have a Lysander's trump card, because that would make life just that much more difficult for us. But our Dialga EX is actually able to hit for quite a bit of damage. I mean, it's already knocked out our opponent's Yveltal EX, and looks like that Mega Manectric EX is going to be losing his life relatively soon as well. So things could be looking quite menacing for our opponent from here on out. Let's actually go and use our Crushing Hammers and hopefully get rid of that energy attachment. Again, I really don't want our Dialga EX to die. Awesome, looks like we are going to get the head. So Dialga EX will at the very least be able to survive for one more turn. Let's go and use Fast Forward, knock out our opponent's Mega Manectric EX and the top 2 cards of his deck, and then draw onto 2 more of our prize cards. So let's see. Okay, I don't think our opponent is actually running a Lysander's trump card, and we're actually winning through knocking out our opponent's Pokemon. This is not how our deck is supposed to go, but I'll take this anyway. So I'm assuming we are going to see an energy getting attached to our opponent's Yveltal EX, so I may just be using our Skyla to grab onto the Headringer, because again, that is just sort of a guaranteed that Yveltal EX would not be able to attack, because I don't believe that our opponent is running any double colorless energies. Okay, so it looks like that energy is actually going to go on our opponent's Mega Manectric EX. He's going to use the Colress, and our Dialga EX will nonetheless be able to pump out quite a bit of damage on our opponent's Yveltal EX. Okay, so let's go right ahead and poison him for the time being. Looks like we are going to get a Tails, but that's absolutely fine. Let's go and actually attach the double colorless energy to one of our bench Bunnelbys. Use the Skyla and see which card I would like to grab onto. So let's see. Just thinking what would be the wisest choice, guys. Our opponents do have those tool type attachments to his Manectric EX and his Yveltal EX. Unfortunately, I can't Headringer them. I could, however, grab onto the Team Plasma Grunt. I'm actually gonna go and grab onto a Colress for now, guys. I think I do want a new hand as well, so let's actually go and grab that out for the time being, and then let's go and hit that Yveltal EX for another 90 damage and discard the top 2 cards of our opponent's deck. I think we may actually be able to win through knocking out our opponent's Pokemon. Not really the sort of idea behind our deck, but that is why it certainly is nice to include the Dialga EX in our deck. I mean, if our opponent doesn't actually have the Switch or a Darkrai EX, his Yveltal EX is actually going to get knocked out. So let's see if that is going to be the case. If we're actually going to win through drawing all of our prize cards, that's very atypical. Again, not really the whole premise behind our deck. Okay, so it looks like our opponent is going to grab onto the Switch, and our Dialga EX is going to be able to survive with 20 HP remaining. So I will actually be using the Colress. So let's go and actually poison our opponent's Manectric EX, and unfortunately we are going to get the Tails, but that's okay. Let's go and attach a Plasma Energy to one of our Bunnelbys and then use the Colress. And okay, so let's go and see if we're able to flip a Heads. Unfortunately, no. Looks like we won't be able to. I will be attaching a Headringer though to our opponent's benched Yveltal EX. Let's go and hit for another Fast Forward 90 damage and then discard the top 2 cards of our opponent's deck. Looks like that is a Darkrai EX and an Ultra Ball. Very happy to have actually gotten rid of that Darkrai EX. So okay, so our opponent is actually running the double colorless energy. I actually was not expecting to see that. I think we're actually going to be able to win though through decking out our opponent. He only has 6 cards remaining in his deck. Don't foresee him as having the any Lysander's trump cards in his deck. He's only going to be able to take his first 2 prize cards, so we'll actually be bringing out our Bunnelby and then discarding some cards from our opponent's deck. Seeing what I would like to grab onto with our Shadow Triad, I think I may actually grab onto the Plasma Energy just so that our bench Bunnelbys are able to attack. So let's go right ahead and grab onto the Plasma Energy for now, because our Bunnelby is going to get 1 hit knocked out with that Yveltal EX. So let's go and use Burrow, discard a card from our opponent's deck, and another Burrow once again. And yeah, so I think we will be able to win relatively quickly. Our opponent's only able to knock out our Pokemon very, very slowly from this point out. Our opponent is going to use the VS Seeker, and let's see what card he's going to grab. I'm assuming it's probably going to be the N. He probably wants to reduce the number of cards in his hand. Yes, so that is probably the wisest choice that our opponent could make. And another VS Seeker could potentially be the Lysander. Okay, no, so it looks like it's going to be another N once again. I was thinking that our opponent would actually try and Lysander out our Dialga EX, but looks like that's not actually going to be the case. so that's perfectly fine with me. Again, I initially thought we may have been able to win through collecting all of our prize cards, but it looks like that's probably not going to happen. So we'll be using the Juniper. I don't actually think we have any more plasma energies in our deck, so let's actually go and use. Okay, so it looks like we do have one more. Should I actually? Yeah, so let's go and actually attach it to our Dialga EX anyways. And how many double color energies? Okay, so we actually probably won't be able to attack with our Dialga EX anymore anyway, so let's go and actually use the Juniper. And okay, so we do have an enhanced hammer, so now that opponent's Yveltal EX will no longer be able to attack, let's go and use Burrow twice to discard the top 2 cards of our opponent's deck. So a Skyla and the Shadow Circle are going to go straight to the discard pile. Don't think that any of our opponent's Pokemon can really attack. I mean, he could potentially attach another energy card to his Yveltal EX and then retreat for the Manectric EX, but I could easily simply Lysander out this Yveltal EX again, which is probably what I would like to do just because he does have the Headringer attachment to him, possibly this Yveltal EX as well, because Manectric EX is probably the most difficult Pokemon that we are going to encounter for the time being. If our opponent doesn't actually have the N at hand, we are actually going to be able to win through decking him out. I'm thinking we have actually won. Our opponent has slowed down, just taking his time thinking about what he would like to do. Luckily for us though, our benched Bunnelby is of course also able to attack. Okay, so it looks like that N is going to come out. Our opponent has a single turn to try and win, so don't think that he can unfortunately make a comeback anymore. Our opponent is actually going to give up. So hopefully you guys really enjoyed this deck. Again, if we have a Lysander's trump card matchup, our deck has an incredibly difficult time. But if you guys did enjoy this video, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time.